really strong. But at the end of the day, I said it earlier when I was on the desk, I think ALG, I think this team is coming, Tolly. I think it's going to be hard to stop this train.
The way Weekend's been performing thus far with his assistance towards Cyclone Spin in that solo lane, it's looking very solid for Allegiance thus far, but you know, there's still a couple more weeks of action here. Can Allegiance keep this momentum rolling?
That's the question. Nemesis, Susano, Fafnir, and Serket, the bans here so far, which Team Allegiance do have first pick. I think we're going to see the Ganesh, but it will be the Terra instead.
Terra will be locked in here. You know, Ganesh was heavily prioritized by a lot of teams because of the objective damage with the Dharmic Pillars, but recently being changed now to deal mitigated damage towards those jungle boss camps, not as favored as before.
Even still, I think Ganesh has a lot of power. You know what? If PBM was still on this team, I think we'd see PBM be playing the Ganesh, but with a different support in mind. Neil Ma, very more aggressive, and I think Terra is that aggressive character. She'll be paired up with Bologna and Soul. And again, unsure if Soul is going mid lane or the left side.
That's true. Med Yankee could play that in that mid role. However, Oceans, every now and then will like to experiment with the Soul, but the way he's been playing recently with a lot of other hunters, especially with Kerninos, still available. Even Noble respecting the potential for the Cupid here. Considering they already have the Hui, I'm not going to be surprised if they ban a second hunter.
I would much rather see the Soul in the hands of Met Yankee. I think he did very well in this character, and I think that Soul in general, I won't say that she's a better mid laner than a laner, but from what we've seen in a Met Yankee for Allegiance, I think that she's a much better mid laner. So we'll see if that's the direction that ALG choose to go in or otherwise, whereas Noble's jungler will be playing Naja.
Naja being locked in, trying to set up a lot of damage coming out of Toph is a great idea, but it's a high risk, high reward kind of pick. There needs to be a lot of early game momentum to benefit that pick. You know,
I don't see that. I think that a Naja, that's a storyline that people keep talking about as Ocean's Medusa's locked in. I don't really see that, Tolly. I think Naja functions just as well from even or behind as other characters. It's not like a Bakasura where all you can really, well, the utility on the cripple. Nah, man.
Sure.
You have a stun, which is an interrupt for, I guess, just Bologna, but you also have the ultimate to take somebody out of the fight. I think Naja is a perfectly fine jungler.
It's very difficult to always confirm that ultimate coming out of Naja. So
sure.
You can't necessarily find, especially if a lot of junglers will opt for that Blink Relic, it's a very risky pick, which is it's more risky than, like, let's say your Thor, right? Your Thor, you have your global pressure. A lot of other gods, such as Susano, for example, has the mobility. Robin has a lot of defensive utilities.
Well, what it comes down to, go ahead.
Pure offensive, looking for those aggressive initiations, and if you don't find it, your team could easily falter quick.
So I was with you until you said only aggressive. I think that Naja can provide some valuable crowd control and can really, like, flicker wisp somebody out of the game. You ult them, and you don't have to worry about them for a couple of seconds, and that's a couple of seconds in a team fight is incredible. I love watching Naja fight into Khepri. You ult the Khepri and you kill somebody else. All right, it's a lot of value in that. Really, what it comes down to is the argument is made. Wow.
Stell taking a lot of damage, forced to go into Aegis at level 1, respecting the damage here between the Soul Robin combination. And this is what Allegiance really likes to do, where they leave Oceans behind, trying to get his own red buff, which he gets, sacrificing a wave under the tower. Meanwhile, they invade on the opposite end. However, preparing for this, Skeledon making that early speed buff invade of his own.
Yeah, he's going to go for the blue buff as well. And let's wrap up this conversation on Naja and say, I don't think that if a Naja falls behind, I don't think he's in more trouble than a different jungler. And I don't think that he's a character that has to be ahead like a Freya does or like a Bakasura does. He is harder to pilot, however. Aquarius under the tower will get away. And so if you miss those shots, then you're in a big trouble.
Oof, that Purification Beads came in clutch for Skeledon. Nice root from Weekend on the backhand side. Cyclone Spin doing so much damage to Aquarius, almost finding that first blood, even taking 2 tower shots just to get this Osiris. Very low, but the blue buff invade answered back by Allegiance. Great following from Met Yankee. As a mid laner, you always want to be holding your jungler's hand.
Yeah, and that right there, that was very important, that the players were able to find the stuff after the stuff. These early game pushes frequently go without anything extra because you've already stripped the jungle. So Met Yankee making that important notation to make the rotation over to the right side, like you said.
Weekend stopping the Fire Giant Elemental earlier on, still assisting Cyclone Spin. This is something that he's starting to do in the summer split here, catering towards his old solo laner, dating way back towards the AFK days. Not an interest, it's kind of different now comparatively to how he used to play all these utility style junglers during his days in Envious, how he goes for the Odin or a Guardian kind of, but now sticking to his guns with what works, cater around Cyclone Spin.
Well, when it comes down to it, I think that Robin is still this utility character, that ultimate doing so much work, but you know, when we think about it, the Robin is the character that sort of has to be ahead. Now, the ultimate is fantastic utility in and of itself. What is it, 25% damage? It's fantastic damage reduction or output reduction, and that does a really good job. But Weekend's job here in the jungle is to basically be a solo Robin.
To be that bait and the backline penetrator alongside Cyclone Spin, trying to disrupt the damage coming out of Wowie, and stealth is the goal from these Allegiance frontliners. And whenever you have these double warriors, whether you're looking at Bellona and Robin or otherwise, this is what your goal and mindset needs to be once you start the game.
And you know, so the conversation might be that Najah can't play from behind, but I think the Robin is really the character on the board that has to have that lead. If you fall behind on this Robin, if your early minutes don't go well, you're going to root people.
You bait out a decent amount of cooldowns with your overhead kick once that gets maxed out.
Okay, that's true. That's real. That's real. I'll give you that.
Immunity frames.
Keep this in mind. The ring bounce is huge, and so is the ultimate. This is going to be First Blood. Skeleton lands. Skeleton has Niroma in his hands. First Blood going the way to Noble.
Just no defensive relics here. Niroma going for the Sunder here, still getting taken advantage of. And this is a great play from Skeleton because not only does he get off the ultimate, but before he did so, getting off the ring bounces alongside reducing the physical protection here, just amplifying the damage of that ultimate.
I like Sunder. I think Sunder is still good. I don't think that there's room for it in some support characters, Khepri being one of them. Khepri and Bacchus get beat up, and Bacchus was one of the first Guardians that said, you know what, maybe it's okay for me to buy beads. And we saw Khepri. Remember when Khepri first came out and Eager just beat him up?
Yeah.
Right? You had to buy those defensive relics. That's how you beat Khepri. You beat up Khepri. And buying the Sunder level 1, Toli, what's your take?
As an aggressive support player, though, from Nilma, that's something that he's been known to do. Weekend taking a lot of damage, going into the Mystic Rush, gaining a lot of damage mitigation. Eagles rally, though. Ring bounces, not
Bang!
enough.
Cyclone Spin, fine skill on with the hammer. Whack a jungler. And that one's going to go to Allegiance, inching closer to the 500 gold bounty that Noble earned with their First Blood, so teams separated by about 150 gold.
Weekend also getting himself in a nice position there as he baited a decent amount of cooldowns there. This is the strategy that Weekend and Cyclone Spin do. One of them takes the damage, absorbs the cooldown, while the other person goes in, follows up, and cleans everybody up. Cyclone Spin, as he uses that bludgeon here, he gets an increased amount of damage once he comes slamming down on the secondary hammer part, and this is why that he found such an easy kill onto Skeleton.
40% damage reduction on that Mystic Rush from Weekend. So very important play right there. Weekend was able to jump over the top, save himself and his teammates, and then Cyclone Spin just does the dirty work. So the Robin, for a lot of what he wants to do, has to kind of be up close and personal and not fall behind. The Prana Onslaught, just the Robin hands all day. You really have to be able to stay relevant. But if you do fall behind, you do have some tools to lean back on. The overhead kick, like you mentioned, then a root, sure. Nobody's going to say no to a root, but that ultimate's a really big deal. 40% damage reduction. Huge.
Finding another pluck onto Neilmont, doing a lot of damage. Forced a double dash away here as the rest of Noble secure themselves those Fire Giant Elementals. Still 1-1 on the board here, and with Skeleton getting that first blood, he's still able to stay relevant against Weekend despite finding that earlier death.
Cyclone Spin still trying to fight over here in this lane by himself.
I wouldn't be surprised if Allegiance, they pick up a Sprint as their second relic or even some Wing Blades.
Look at that, jumping in his weekend, but he gets taken to the sky. Luckily, does have that buff. He's getting hit for 40. Matt Yankee meets Weekend at the bottom and takes down Skeleton. And that's the bad side of the Naja. You can predict where he's going to fall so you can kill him. Now, the good side of Naja is you can predict where he's going to fall so you can kill the guy he's with.
Just not really respecting the damage threat potential. Sometimes, as a Naja player, you have to use the ultimate defensively to get out of danger there. Now, granted, you could take somebody out of the team fight, which could maybe buy your teammates a little bit more time to position themselves to save you, but Wobben couldn't really get the ultimate off, just not in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, that was kind of problematic. Problematic for Wobben there.
And the thing is, when you come landing from the Naja ultimate, you bounce back, and during that bounce back, you're also getting some immunity frames. So not only do you not take some damage for a small portion, you become untargetable by your allies. So it makes it more difficult than it needs to be for Wobben to get off that Scarab's Blessing.
Yeah, and it's you got to communicate where you ulted from, because you bounce back to your original ult spot. So if you sash in, you're bouncing back an inch. If you ult in, you're bouncing back a long ways. Gold Fury, not even really contested here. That one goes the way of Noble, nice and easy. They didn't even have a pick there, Tully.
Great timing recognition. There's always a window, no matter what team you're against, that you might have a 2-second window here, a 6-second window there, but you have to not only know how long your window is, but how long it takes you to get this Gold Fury. Investing into the ultimate from Wowie, not a bad call here for the first Gold Fury.
Cyclone Spin jumps on Aquarius, who ultimately gets away. This is a fun matchup in my eyes. I think Aquarius could be one of the new up-and-coming solo laners. I've liked what I've seen out of him so far, but that's kind of from a distance. Why don't you zoom in, Tully, and tell us what you... Ooh, hold that. Weekend making the wraparound, looking for the root, can't find it. There's a dash forward from Nirma, and Allegiance are able to clean up the mid-Harpies by themselves.
That's the defensive ultimate, but offensively, Weekend diving with Med Yankee's ultimate, Toth ultimate being used as Med Yankee's forced to retreat. Cyclone Spin's even there, trying to catch Stealth, but a nice rotation from Wobben, gonna save the mid laner, and just like that, this is the aggression from both Weekend and Cyclone Spin in full effect.
Man, this character's so good at diving towers, and while the Raven can't really operate from behind, the fact that he's able to do what he does allows him to stop falling behind. The jump in with the ultimate, I mean, you can just tank the tower forever. You have almost 50% damage reduction. You just tank the tower.
The way this
doesn't matter.
The way this ultimate used to work, which is changed, and why we see such a resurgence of Raven, not only solo lane or the jungle, was the fact that it's used to be how you ulti one target, everyone else does mitigated damage to you except for that target.
Right.
But now, it doesn't matter who you hit, or even if you connect on the ultimate, you're still gaining the damage mitigation whether you deal damage or not.
It was an interesting idea. It sort of made it sound, it sort of set itself up to be a Fight Club type deal. Raven jumps on you, only that guy can fight you. Everybody else can go, you know, bugger off. It's just that guy. And now it's just, well, once I ult, I am Raven. You can't hurt me, tower. And that's why he's able to get those tower kills at such an early part of the game. Weekend has to run away at this point, and he'll get cleansed of the root, but the rest of the team fight still happening on the right side. Nice walls coming out from Neil Ma, but he'll get caught up by the Skeleton.
Nice ultimate from Skeleton from a distance, along with Stealth's final judgment.
That's the good side.
Cyclone Spin has the Eagles rally, uses it defensively. One clean pick, but Aquarius, he's not done yet. The slow is coming into full effect. Nice stun from Stealth. Second, could be a dive here.
Yeah, it will be a dive. One more shot will do it, but no commitment. Aquarius had the life bar. Why?
They could have easily dove that. No Eagles rally. Aquarius had full stacks of his passive.
Did they see the rotation on wards?
They might have, but either way,
they don't have vision. Even
if there was a rotation, Med Yankee already used his supernova, so there's not that much damage anyway. Aquarius with his full passive, he gained 16% physical damage reduction, 8% on the magical side, and this could have been taken advantage of by diving this 10% Bologna.
Dropped opportunity there in my eyes easily.
Yep.
10% Bologna, 10 HP Bologna.
Yeah,
he was one shot away.
A lot of aggression, but not wanting to take that next step. And that's the difference between some of these top-tier elite teams versus these more up-and-coming teams that want to try to figure out their spot currently in the SPL. Allegiance are getting off to a great start so far in the summer split, only losing to Luminosity thus far, whereas Noble, they're still struggling to find their first win. Yeah,
Noble, they've had some roster changes here. They've done a lot of different things over the course of the season, the young season. So very interested to see where these guys wind up, if anywhere.
Noble still looking like they want to put some more pressure on the right side of the map. Getting their back harpy, surprisingly enough, instead of trying to go for the gank onto Cyclone Spin, really respecting this level 13 Bologna that has that height of Nemi line finish. Sunder Relic for that second slot, so still in the offensive mindset is Allegiance.
And Nemi line's very interesting. Just a lot of basic attack damage coming out from both the outside laners. So Solo Lane Osiris, all about the basics, as is the Hunter. And the Naja, as the game gets later and later, he'll be providing a lot more damage thanks to those basic attacks.
Naja does pack quite a punch at the late game, and that height of Nemi line will stop that. Even if you're not trying to hit Bologna on the Naja's fourth swing, you get that AoE cleave, and you might unintentionally hit this Bologna, especially if you crit. Now you're going to be returning even more damage to yourself. So I like that idea that Cyclone Spin has, not only trying to target out Wowie in the late game, but also making it a little bit more difficult for Skilladon.
Yeah, I mean, the average Naja build, you're critting late game for 1,600, right? So gotta be careful of those. Wrap around from the side. Here comes Oceans, bringing Stealth down very low, cleaning him up, leaving a statue. Oceans puts number 4 on the board for his team.
Stealth not even using that Aegis. Wow, he has to use the Suns defensively. Nice ultimate from Wubben along the Aegis for himself. Trying to retreat under that tier 2 tower. And the timing of this pressure from Allegiance might be rewarded here as that Golfier has respawned.
Yeah, and with Allegiance down basically just 500 gold, this Gold Fury should turn things around for them, Anatoly. Meanwhile, underneath the tower, Wubben, that's what we call getting power zoned. Yeah. He's getting beat up.
No potential for a steal here out of Noble. Cyclone Spin made sure of it with Aquarius on the right side, split pushing. Not a bad idea considering he has the teleport available. He could have looked to make that rotation, but hindsight is 20/20. If he makes the rotation, doesn't steal the Golfier or make an impact. Now, not only are they behind, but there was no response on the right-hand side, so at least committing to it.
Sure. At the end of the day, the play for Allegiance certainly a good one. A 14.5. It's 4-2 right now. ALG leading this game by about 500, 600 gold. So, tie game.
Things are going to get very interesting here if Allegiance keep grouping up in these team fights, because Cyclone Spin has just finished off his Hide of the Urchin, an item that starts off relatively on the weaker side of things, getting 35 magical and physical protections, but once you finish off all 10 stacks from either a kill or an assist, you get 3 protections per stack, up to 10 stacks, and that's 65 protections on that item with 250 health. That's one of the most defensive cost-efficient items in the game.
Cost-efficient with a big maybe on it, however. Yeah. We've seen some games with tons of kills. We've seen some games end with 6. So he's buying this item hoping that the team fights continue.
Wubben looking like he wants to start putting some wards around this portal demon, and this is a very easy objective to take around here. Even gonna start it up here in front of Cyclone Spin's face. Oh, okay, there was a ward right under him, so he had to pull the portal demon just to secure the ward. This was a strategy being used by a lot of other teams as well back in the day, when you could place a ward at the Fire Giant feet, being indestructible.
Yeah.
Unless you had AoE cleave in hands.
Gold Fury, you could tank it off of it, and so that was recently, well, not recently, but that was changed once upon a time. And now the real pull. Ma going for a portal demon, but it looks like Weekend wants to jump on somebody.
It seems like this is a bait tactic from ALG. What you want to do here as a hunter or a mid-mage such as Soul is you throw out your in-hands to get the particle effects, so that way your opposition sees like, okay, we don't really see the health out of this objective, but we see there's things being thrown at it, so they're there.
Portal demon still being danced around here.
And not only that, by in-handing the portal demon as a Soul player, you're getting your heat further and further ahead, trying to get more attack speed, more magical power. So not a bad call for Matt Yankee.
Yeah, Matt Yankee trying so desperately to keep that passive up. Really wants to be able to just come into the fight with the damage. Waiting around the corner is Skilladon, bringing Matt Yankee down low. Thoth following up, but the Aegis is too strong.
The damage is there, but not enough to confirm the kill. Stealth forced to dash on backwards as Weaken creates havoc. Nice Suns coming out of Wowie to zone the rest of the team fight. Aquarius is going to get rooted in place. No Lord of the Afterlife for him, but a nice revive from Wubbin.
And that's going to be a great look for the support player on Noble. Great Capri play. With the ultimate down, Allegiance can do that all over again, except they don't have the same tools as before.
Sustained from Neilma on that Monolith. The pluck from Wubbin, barely off the mark. Ring bounces. Weaken taking a lot of damage. The sash is good. Skilladon finds one. Ocean responding onto Wubbin. 1 for 1 so far, but Jungler for support favors Noble every time.
And Allegiance cannot be happy about how this one turned out. Looking for the portal demon. Neilma just got bited.
Why is Allegiance contesting this? They're just so low. Eagles rally from Cyclone Spin, finding Skilladon at least 2 for 2 yet again, but objective going in the way of Noble. 750 gold in their pocket.
And with that, Matt Yankee, don't stand there. With that, Allegiance starting to look a little bit better, making sure to make Noble pay for their portal demon.
I was confused at first because Ocean's dashed in aggressively there, but he baited just a little bit to allow Cyclone Spin to come over the top with that Eagles rally, finding Skilladon.
That was really the play there, and you know, sometimes you mentioned it early. Weaken's got to play for that solo lane, and that's what he's doing.
Cyclone Spin getting the better end of it, and by finding these kills we talked about earlier, you need to stack up that height of the Urchin to allow your solo laner to get more resilient in these team fights.
There's a spot when you land down that the target cannot, from the Najal, that the target gets knocked up a second, you can't Aegis. The ultimate out of Thoth was half a second too late, and Matt Yankee gets his Aegis off. If Matt Yankee dies there, do we see a different team fight?
I believe so. That Soul just stayed in the team fight for so long, using her own first ability, Steroid Amplifier, to get the health return and utilizing Neilma's Monolith sustain. So we saw Soul just be very healthy despite taking all that damage from the double ultimates from Skilladon and Stealth.
Right here, going into the enemy jungle. Oh, their own jungle. Allegiance were just grouped up so heavy, I assume they were invading, but they're just going into their own jungle here totally. They've got to be careful about the Gold Fury, however, being started up by Noble.
Noble are flirting with the idea here. There's 9 members here. Aquarius is just comfortably split pushing on the right side, so Cyclone Spin, he's going in.
Yeah, this has been a win for Noble so far if he's able to get that tier 2, but instead cancels it, teleports to the team fight, and he shows up on the back end. Allegiance already chases Noble out of here. Man, I would have liked to see Aquarius stay around.
He wants to try to engage here. A lot of ultimates being used from Noble. 4 to be exact. Gold Fury is almost down and going on in. It's going to be Allegiance getting the Gold Fury for themselves. Nothing to respond by Noble. Without that Thoth ultimate, very difficult to try to snatch away that one.
Yeah, you got to have that available. And as I said, man, I kind of wish that Aquarius had just stayed in that lane.
The way he did the first time, right? He got the tier 1 tower. Second time around, potentially could have looked for that tier 2 tower. Teleport was not available for Cyclone Spin. Would have definitely been guaranteed. It's very unfortunate for Noble that they had to use older ultimates defensively yet again. Allegiance, they were just grouped up in the right funnel to make sure that every member from Noble that was coming at them would get hit by just all the AoEs.
Right, a lot of the spread attacks, yeah, for sure. But either way, not going to be the case. 6-4 as we pass our 20th minute.
Still a very relatively even game thus far, considering it's the almost 21-minute mark with about a 1,000 goal lead for Allegiance. It's nothing that Noble can't fight into here. The experience gap is still in Noble's favor, actually.
I mean, the experience gap, yeah, 1,200.
Not much, but it's in, despite not having the goal lead, the experience lead is in their favor, so they could still take these team fights very easily. You're looking at the player damage charts here. We're seeing both Skilladon and Aquarius cross into that 5-digit marker here. Everyone on the side of Noble just doing work in these team fights.
Yeah, that's really the key there, is that it's been the unit. The entire team has really been able to help out and find some of these kills and this damage, and I think that's when teams like this are most successful. You have your units, and allegiance varies depending on the day. Sometimes it's the Cyclone Spin show. Sometimes it's the Ocean show. Just 2 weeks ago or last week, it was the Weekend show. But with that in mind, I think allegiance are best to rise throughout the game together and then let somebody take the lead rather than pick and ban for that idea. And I think that's what they're doing here, and that's why they're being successful.
And Skilladon doing a great job as well. Despite being a scoreline of 2-4-2, he has this one-level lead over Weekend, and you know he did experience that early death, but it didn't matter because of just his capabilities of farming all across the map. The ultimates that he's trying to set up for his teammates have been evident here. He has 2 kills and 2 assists, which is 100% of all the team's kills.
Wow. I didn't realize it was 100. Yeah, well, look at that. Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's only 4 kills, but...
Sure. But I just didn't realize that he was there for every single fight.
We talked about in the earlier European set how the junglers are the ones to make the impact, and Skilladon making the impact here, whether it's for good or worse.
So I have this idea. Noble has an idea about the Portal Demon. Ma and Weekend going to show up. Girdle means go. There's the jump in for the jungler, and Allegiance snatch it away. That's going to be a blue portal. Noble now trying to do something. What happened to the Thoth ult?
Final Judgment actually just barely clipped Cyclone Spin at the tail end of that one. The Portal Demon was secured by Allegiance, even having the teleport for this Bologna solo laner Weekend. Looking like he wants to wait around the corner just to see if anyone gets caught slipping here. This could be a Fire Giant if there's vision control for Allegiance.
There is, but there's a ward for Noble behind
this is risky.
Allegiance.
This is so risky. All 5 members from Noble are still standing here.
And Noble are well aware. Half HP on the Fire Giant. Oceans looks like he's going to full commit. Here comes help from the right-hand side. Still the Fire Giant's making Oceans. Right now they peel, looking for the team fight instead. Fire Giant going to be re-healing. They're skilled on blinking in front of the ultimate. Afterwards, he's going to bounce back. Where's Thoth? Right there. MLC Stealth puts Oceans into the bottom. Aquarius and Skeely pick up 2.
The crit from Skilladon onto Mad Yankee. What a risky Fire Giant call. All 5 Noble members stand strong. Cyclone Spin off the mark. He wants to kill Skilladon.
Nice
the Sunder's not enough. That's 4 dead. Trying to escape. The tether is going to stun. The bounces will find the slow, and Aquarius will find the kill.
For me, totally, it's not even about the Fire Giant. I think that Allegiance were going to go for the Fire Giant and say, hey, you know what? I think that Matt Yankee and Oceans probably could have stuck to the FG.
The damage was there.
Stolen it.
The damage was there from Allegiance. They leashed it. They leashed it somewhere between 10 to 20%. And Noble, they weren't that close to steal it.
No.
The final judgment from Stealth was used in the team fight, so the steal factor wasn't truly evident for Noble.
That's why they peeled. They peeled because Thoth exists.
Well, but the ultimate was already used from Stealth at the last part of the earlier engagement after the...
So it came up again to hit Cyclone Spin?
No, that wasn't even necessary to find the kill onto, who was it that was caught in there? I think it was Mad Yankee that was caught into Skillet, or it was Oceans that was caught by Skilladon's ultimate.
Cyclone Spin gets hit by the Thoth ultimate.
No, his Thoth ultimate is still up here. Yeah, before the Portal Demon fight. That's the one that I was talking about. Yeah. And immediately after the Portal Demon gets taken, that's when Allegiance go for the Fire Giant because of their vision control on the northern side of things. But there was a Sentry Ward
on the
right
bottom
underneath from Noble that spotted the commitment.
Man, if Met Yankee and Oceans confirm Fire Giant and Allegiance get that buff mid-team fight, do they win the fight, Tully?
I don't necessarily think so because it was a great blink engage from Skilladon, eliminating Oceans' life completely.
And that's the key. That's the factor that I was talking about before. Sure, Skilly's up now, but even if he's low and he doesn't do a lot of damage in that ult, he comes down in the mid-mage, sets it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like this character. The character is difficult to play. And that's why I think it's very important that Skilladon has somebody else on his team, like Aquarius and MLC Stealth, depending on the day. Skilladon, I think, has trouble dealing with being the guy. I don't think Skilladon is made for the spotlight. But when there's other players on his team that he can team up with or that will take that spotlight, Skilladon gives us games like this, where he's 4-4-4, but he is by far one of the key components of this victory.
He's not afraid to go in and sacrifice his life if need be, which is why he went for this Naja pick so late in the draft out of Noble, just very confident in his abilities to set up his teammates. And the damage there, not only does he set up the kill onto Oceans to start things off in that engagement, but he ends it almost in the mid portion where he finds a crucial crit onto Med Yankee.
Right now, no crits needed to take down the towers. Tier 1, Tier 2, both the mid and the right side, stripped bare by the guys on Noble. I am surprised.
By what?
Noble.
They stepped it up. They don't have a
think.
So they lost to Luminosity, Monkey Madness, In Memory of Gay, which are pretty strong teams. But Allegiance, the way they've been playing so far, they split against Luminosity. They got a freebie against Flashpoint because they're Flashpoint, but they also beat out
Cyclone Spin gonna catch them sleeping. Noble all hide behind a rock and back. Two players don't back fast enough. A woman is gonna be in trouble. Ults himself, skilled on here. No ultimate available to him as he used it to escape. Allegiance, these are the type of mistakes that Noble cannot make because Allegiance will take them and run with them.
But losing their tier 1 dual lane tower, what a massive amount of damage onto Med Yankee from a distance. Stealth recognizing he can have that small potential, but Fire Giant still around their waist for another 30 seconds. They were thinking about potentially chasing that down, considering there were 3 ultimates used from Allegiance to secure the kill onto Wubbin. Noble had some turnaround potential.
That's a really big stop for ALG at the very same time. That back from Noble was just a rebuy, regroup, and siege again. By taking out Kepri, you all of a sudden kind of put a stop to that.
Allegiance now, they hold off and keep all their Phoenixes alive despite the Fire Giant siege coming out of Noble. That's the crucial part. If an enemy team has Fire Giant, the goal is to not lose any Phoenixes, wait it out, and hope that all the gold that the enemy team has amounted won't play into effect during the next Fire Giant attempt, and that you can steal it away or stop it.
Right now, ooh, that's the thought process here for Noble. Everybody creeping up on the right side for the Portal Demon. Girdle's popped. I don't think there's going to be any influence here. No. Noble pick up the PD and walk away.
Very early Girdle by Wubbin, surprisingly enough, wanting to secure that objective relatively quickly. It is a 120-second cooldown, so it will be up in 2 minutes, but that's a pretty important cooldown. If Allegiance sees that one relic could mean it's go time.
Yeah, girdle means, no girdle means go, right? If you're on the other side, so that could be the shot. That might be the
question
way
is,
to think
did
about
they
it.
see it or not? But with that Portal Demon increasing the mobility for Noble for the next 30 seconds or so, Legions have to be mindful about their positioning. Wowie on the left-hand side with a couple of other of their teammates. Aquarius spots out everyone from Allegiance around this Fire Giant.
Fire Giant started up by ALG one more time, but they're
baiting.
Yeah, they're just trying to play with it a little bit here.
They don't really care about starting up this Fire Giant. They're down about 7,000 gold. Not too much here, considering it is a 30-minute mark. This next Fire Giant, whether it's Allegiance or Noble, will be the deciding factor of this game.
Sure. 99% of the time, yes. What happens if the Fire Giant team gets wiped?
What if both teams get swiped at the same time?
We have seen that.
Yes. That was I can't remember what match it was.
It was last year we saw North American teams wipe each other out. Double deicide. Oh man. Fun stuff right now. Half hour. Allegiance and Noble dancing around the Fire Giant. It's kind of like when you're at like a middle school formal prom and nobody really wants to make the first move. So
everyone's just standing there awkwardly looking at each other.
That wave of dudes on one side and girls on the other, just I see who I want to dance with. Weekend's looking at Skilledon like, I want to dance with you, but I don't know how to make that first move. I think it's up to Wubbin and Neil to really make this shot. Or Skeely could just blink on in. But look at this. Noble are pushing up into Allegiance's jungle, making sure that they don't feel comfortable. And in the process, Noble are able to, 1, earn more space, and 2, get a little bit more farm.
In order to get the space, you have to have the vision. And that's exactly what Noble have with all those sentry wards on the north and on the south side. Now Allegiance trying to press on forward. Weekend is baiting out on the right a little bit, and on the left, the rest of his teammates are trying to find the flank.
Noble have done a really good job of pushing up to get this position a lot better. When you're dancing around the Fire Giant pit, anybody can jump into anybody. Here, Noble have forced Allegiance to come through 3 separate entryways, and all 3 are guarded by a bodyguard. Cyclone Spin gonna jump over the top, forcing out the Frenzy. That's a win already. He immediately disengages. Allegiance go in, pop the Frenzy, and leave.
But the Terra's Blessing was used by Neilma. That's a very important ultimate here with global pressure. Wow, he uses the dive bomb. His escape is on cooldown for a moment. Noble and Allegiance still flirting around, and Neilma taking so much poke, forced to use that monolith just to sustain further.
Fire Giant still Noble territory. Weaken here, does the backflip to avoid some of the nonsense out of the Osiris, but Aquarius still has him in his sights on the bottom side. Allegiance could notice this and collapse on the Osiris, but Noble would rescue him around the top end.
Weaken very low here, or gimped a little bit, just 25%, but Mad Yankee taking some shots from stealth, charging 60%. That final judgment. Wowie, meanwhile, is 25. The Fire Giants.
Allegiance, they're gonna leash the Fire Giant, look for the fight. Mad Yankee smoked out, Scaly misses the ultimate. That's a big deal. Ocean still forced out of the fight despite it.
Wowie chasing it down on the left-hand side. Fire Giant does get leashed, finding a pick onto Mad Yankee.
We can jump back in.
Cyclone Spin jumping out, and the rest of Noble, they want to find Weaken, but that's a speed buff on the Robin.
That's a great play by Weaken, jumping in, saves his solo laner. Fire Giant likely to go to Noble despite it. Look how much damage they have, Tully. It's gone.
So quick here. Weaken was forced to run away during that mid lane.
Picks up a tier 1 tower.
500 gold, but at this point, 500 gold when you're losing Fire Giant, Allegiance is not looking good here. That's the second one for Noble.
The first one, Noble took some towers off.
Yeah.
We didn't see them really Fire Giant.
But now with 5, 6 items complete on some members from Noble, with Fire Giant this time around, this is more impactful getting this buff to be able to just melt the last remaining tier 2 tower in the beginning of these Phoenixes.
So this is where we get to see them really Fire Giant.
Yeah, like one shot from stealth here on the final judgment is all it's going to take. That's what happened onto Mad Yankee. We didn't see it on screen, but the final judgment just destroying the life of this soul.
Look at those hits. Big deals. So Wowie and his team pick up the gold Fury. That's going to give Noble about a 10,000 gold lead. Just shy of it at 9K and 33.51 on the clock. Noble certainly poised and equipped to take this win. The only tower left on board will be the tier 2, and this will likely fall down in the matter of minutes.
And Noble didn't necessarily need to go for the gold Fury there. It was just more of an attempt to make sure that if their next siege doesn't go the way that they want to, that they have that extra gold in hand, in their pockets, and also to prevent Allegiance from being able to come back and get that gold Fury.
That's what it is for me. It's the denial, right? Allegiance can fight into a team up 9K with a Fire Giant. I have faith in ALG. I think they're a great team, and I think they can win this team fight if everything goes their way. If they do, well, what do they get? FG's down, Gold Fury's down. That's why I like that play on the Gold Fury.
Left-hand side, Noble thinking about sieging. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Aquarius just doing Osiris things, zoning out a couple of members, Cyclone Spin and Weaken in particular, trying to find the right angle to get in there.
Will it be the right angle? We'll see.
It's the obtuse one.
Thank you. I was waiting to see. I was waiting to see if you'd follow me in my math joke. Jumping forward is going to be a Cyclone Spin, who certainly has some sort of angle on Noble. The flank is strong. Skeely goes to the sky to save his own life when he falls down, saved by the Kepri. Wonderful play. MLC wipes out Weaken.
Not able to find the kill onto the jungler, but Weaken will fall as well. Neilma gets pulled back into the thick of things. That's 3 dead on the side of Allegiance. And Noble, they're on the path to go to getting their first victory here.
Aquarius jumps forward, number 4 for the Broken God. And with only Cyclone Spin to defend, does look like what you said is true. Doubling Allegiance's kills at 14. Noble wind up with their first victory